Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle. This may be my only upload today because it's such a major topic. I'm not sure, still thinking on it. But as it currently stands, the Eliza Bleu situation has turned Tim Pool and the Quartering, I don't want to say against one another, because the Quartering is very obviously not turned against Tim Pool, but Tim Pool is very clearly, or at least as it currently stands, very clearly seemed to have made some sort of decision. So let's go over it, take a look at some tweets. I've got some thoughts, some opinions I want to share with you guys, and we'll see what we can do to get down to the brass tacks of what happened to this situation that started from just an innocuous tweet from a content creator named Brittany Venti, and we'll see how far things have fallen. So, here we see the Quartering talking about Tim Pool. You know, I've taken 30 pot shots at Tim. I totally understand if he blocked me. Again, no war. Lots of important stuff for Monday. I don't give an F about Tim. I care about Twitter working with Eliza Bleu to censor creators. And that is where this all started. So, this is not me taking the Quartering side. I'm going to lay out my thoughts and beliefs. I just want to start with this because the Quartering, is talking about the correct thing here. Eliza Bleu to censor creators. That is where this all started. I'm not going to rehash too much of the situation, but the Clip Notes version is Brittany Venti, a Twitter journalist who's also against a YouTube journalist who's also against human trafficking, tweeted at Eliza Bleu saying, "Hey, you know, what does this have to do with what you're referring to?" You know, there was a picture of Eliza Bleu scantily clad that, you know, for a rap video that may have blown a hole in her timeline. She immediately got banned off Twitter. You know, the Quartering jumped in to try and defend her, posted the same picture, got banned off Twitter, and this controversy started. This has been like 2 weeks or so now. I've made a couple videos on it. You can go back and watch those if you're curious about the origins of this. But it got to a boiling point when Tim Pool was just refusing to cover it. And frankly, Tim probably really didn't need to cover it, at least not to any major extent, because the Quartering already had it taken care of. Christy Mayer already had it taken care of. Even Geeks and Gamers, this isn't normally their wheelhouse, was getting in on it. There were a lot of individuals talking about this, so in my personal opinion, I didn't really think Tim would have had anything to add, except for maybe give some sort of explanation as to sort of vibes he got or views he got when she was on his show, things like that. If you go back and watch the episode, it's kind of a rough episode to watch. They're very at each other, which, hey, it's politics. That's what I like to see. However, there was a large contingent of his audience, which probably had some crossover with Jeremy's and all the rest, that were asking him to talk about it. They were sending super chats, they were asking the whole nine, and Tim finally broke down and said, "Look, I don't care how much you guys are asking for this. We plan these shows in advance. You know, we've got stories we want to go over with our guests, the whole nine, and that's what we're going to stick to." And for the most part, I completely agree with that. That's A-okay. That's a fine mentality to have. But when the story has been going for 2 weeks, and it is a massive story, you should probably put that story in your show. Now, obviously, I can't tell them what to cover, whatnot, but when a story like this that has to do with Twitter censorship, which they cover all the time, that has to do with content creators in the same space getting banned, that's a censorship thing. It looks like it's only affecting one side of the aisle. Once again, kind of political. It looks like something that Tim would normally cover. And when you have your audience, your paying audience, you know, sending you super chats and whatnot, asking for it, well, these are your customers. At some point, you do want to give your customers what they want. So after 2 weeks of not covering it, you know, he gets, breaks down and says, "Look, I'm sick and tired of being asked about it. We have a pre-programmed plan for what's going to be on the show." And I would completely understand and appreciate that. I respect that aspect of it, if it wasn't for another thing he said. In the same episode, or one episode, behind or afterwards, he's like, "Look, we were going to have Jeremy on the show. And right when this was going down, it would have been great to talk about it. But Jeremy flaked," which he did. Jeremy straight up says he flaked, whatnot. But Jeremy flaked, so we didn't get to get him on. We didn't get to talk about it. Now, he makes it sound like they booked Jeremy to talk about this, but they didn't. They booked Jeremy a month and a half in advance. Month and a half in advance, whatnot, is what he says. And so, if that was the case, you didn't have him on to talk about this. What happened to your statement of, "We already have a show we want to stick to, we want to cover"? If you were going to have Jeremy on, you had plans for what you wanted to cover. Well, clearly that wasn't this. You've said, "We have stuff we want to cover with our guests," and it's pre-planned. So if you're going to have Jeremy on the show and it was pre-planned, and this event hadn't happened yet, the Eliza Bleu stuff hadn't happened yet, then don't make it sound like, "Oh, if we had Jeremy on, we would have talked about it." Maybe you would have, maybe you wouldn't have. But if you had talked about it, it means, well, your first statement is a lie. You do adjust what you're going to talk about to the guests you're having, or you still wouldn't have talked about it because you had a prep show planned, and you would have gone on with it. So it's just not a good look. Now, I'm not going to tell people don't watch Tim Pool or side with Jeremy. I'm not going to tell people side with Jeremy, don't watch Tim Pool. I'm going to keep watching both. I think both offer while similar, very different forms of information, forms of taking in information, views on that information, and while I think in this instance Tim Pool is absolutely in the wrong, there is definitely merit to watching both. For one, this isn't just Tim's views. You know, if you watch Tim Pool, you're not just getting Tim's views. You're getting guests, you're getting his co-hosts, you're getting actual news stories you might not have looked at otherwise. So even if you don't like Tim or disagree with his views or whatnot, you're still losing out on more than you're gaining by not watching him, because you're losing the stories. Unless you go somewhere else for them, you know, you're losing the opinions of his co-hosts, you're losing the opinions of his guests, and you might be losing some nuanced thought from Tim that you may actually agree or disagree with, because at the end of the day, if someone has a good point, you should want to acknowledge and agree with that point regardless of whether you like the individual or not. That's what us free thinkers try to do, and that's why content like The Quartering, like Chrissy Mayer, like Tim Pool, like Geeks and Gamers, why all these alternative methods of pop culture and political commentators that aren't, you know, CNN or Fox News, that's why they're so important. We may not like them, but we want to hear what they have to say because, well, it could be nuanced and we could be able to agree with it regardless of our stance on them. I like Tim Pool fine. I won't lie, I'm much more of an Ian fan. I mostly watch the show for Ian, but I like Tim Pool fine. I got no issues with him. I like the type of story he covers. I like the fact that he very rarely says unlike me. And I like The Quartering quite a bit because I think he's more down home, you know, something like it's kind of like hanging out and talking politics with your uncle, something to that effect. It's just got more of a family vibe to it, whereas the Tim Pool show is much more aggressive and nitty-gritty. It's got more of an intense vibe to it, which again, sometimes I'm in the mood for. So I watch both shows regularly, you know, I watch probably, let's say Jeremy posts 5 times a day. I watch 2 or 3 of his a day, and I usually watch, you know, Tim Pool every evening once I'm off, you know, playing video games or whatever, have him on the background, and it's a lot of fun to listen to both. But here, The Quartering says, I don't do drama like Eliza Bleu or Jack Murphy. You know, Tim has said multiple times he doesn't do YouTube drama. However, unless Hassan Piker, Steven Crowder, Candace Owens, Cenk Uygur, Kanye West. This is all true. He has done drama with all 3 or 4 of these, 5 of these individuals. You know, Hassan Piker, he frequently covers in his videos. You know, you get that all the time. Steven Crowder and Candace Owens was a very recent situation. Tim covered that, which, hey, it was in the news. By all means, cover it, get paid. It's in the news. I'm down for that. You know, Cenk Uygur talks about it all the time. Kanye West, he milked that for a solid week and a half, 2 weeks. Again, I don't have any issue. But if you do, milk it all you want. You get that money. It is news. All this stuff was news. But Eliza Bleu was also news. And by not covering it and claiming you don't do drama, A, that's disingenuous, and B, it makes it look like you've got some favoritism. Now, maybe you do, maybe you don't, I don't know, but it absolutely makes it look like Tim Pool has some sort of favoritism or something to, you know, hide, or maybe we're reading into it too much, but when these were all effectively nothing burgers in the news when compared to things like, you know, the Chinese balloon, or, you know, foreign affairs, or any of the other major political stories that's going on, censorship at Twitter, you know, pre-Elon Musk, or all the pedophilia stuff on Twitter. Those are all massive stories. So I agree, covering things like, you know, drama is, you know, small and beneath big, larger political talking points. But if that's going to be the case, then if you're going to cover stuff like this, I would absolutely cover the gal that was on your show that has now managed to somehow get several upon several channels banned. Look at this list right here. When one individual can get all of these videos attacked, flagged, claimed for copyright, attempt to get them banned, some of them did get banned, that's a massive censorship attack. That is worth acknowledging. That is definitely news, especially in this political techno sphere that you guys all reside in. And there is so much crossover between your viewers and the viewers of all these individuals attacked. Why weren't you attacked? Is it because you haven't said anything about Eliza Bleu because you're afraid of getting attacked? Or have you not said anything about Eliza Bleu because you're secretly on her side? You're championing her. Now, I know Tim Pool stated, yeah, we're going to have one of our journalists go cover it directly. And I had some hope for that first. I was like, okay, he's sending a journalist out, they're going to cover it, they're going to do a big news article on it. But he sent a reporter that was a fan of Eliza Bleu, that has a history of being friendly with Eliza Bleu, to interview her, and then didn't interview Brittany Venti or The Quartering. The individuals that showed us Eliza Bleu might be lying, might be just making money off of fraudulent trafficking, claiming to help, trafficking survivors, or maybe she is really helping trafficking survivors, but she lied about her trafficking past. The individuals that brought this to light didn't get interviewed. There's no journalistic integrity in not interviewing them and just sending out someone who's a fan of Eliza Bleu to do an interview on Eliza Bleu. At that point, it looks like a fluff piece. It looks like you're just trying to satiate your audience and absolutely taking a side before any of the information even comes out. What real journalism would have done was sent out a reporter to interview Eliza Bleu, and then sent out a reporter to interview Brittany Venti, the quartering, the whole nine. Also, Eliza ran damage control. We all saw that. She had the string of tweets about, give a couple days for that article to come out. The people at Timcast do good work. He drew stuff out of me that even I didn't know I experienced until was being asked. It looked very strange that she was already jumping to the defense of, hey, give time for the Timcast article to come out. Like, it definitely has a very biased look to it. And I don't want it to be biased. I want this to be clean-cut journalism, but I don't see this being clean-cut journalism. There's way too many cooks in the kitchen here, and now they're starting to argue. Like I said, I like both Tim Pool's show and the Quartering show. A lot of people do. There is absolute crossover between those shows. But Tim Pool is absolutely in the wrong in this instance. Is he in the wrong all the time? No. Are there going to be times he gets things wrong and then just needs to admit it or own up to it? Yeah, absolutely. But then we get even more crazy things going on, like Cassandra, his booker, and I think pretty much his overall secretary, showrunner, things like that, getting brought in on it with people attacking her for a history of when she did porn when she was younger. Yeah, oh well, so she did. I think me and most individuals are in the camp of, yeah, you do dumb things when you're in your late teens, 20s, whatever. Don't, dredge it up years later once you've changed your life, once you've, move forward, once you've had kids, once you've had a family and whatnot. It's been 20 years. You move on. We're always talking about how, hey, we don't think things you did years ago should be held against you. We're talking about like censorship or when people are getting fired from jobs. Why did James Gunn get fired? These were 10-year-old tweets. Like, I think the same thing here with Cassandra McDonald. Why are people bringing up her history? This was 10, 20 years ago. She's got a life, a family, a job now. And I think most people do look at it that way. But even so, Cassandra McDonald, now she's locked her account, she's blocked her, she's locked her account, makes sure it's all privated, and that's not the way to go about this. It makes you look like a coward. Tim's locked his account, makes him look like a coward. If he hasn't locked his account, he just absolutely blocked the Quartering, and again, makes you look like a coward. If you actually want to have these sort of conversations, if you're open to dialogue as you claim you are, then you need to keep your accounts open. You need to keep your accounts unlocked. Otherwise, you're becoming the very thing you claim to hate on your show, the thing you're trying to fight against on your show. And at that point, you're just a hypocrite, and it's hard to take you seriously. It's hard to look at your points and be like, yeah, but do you really believe it, or are you just saying it for that super chat dollar? Do I think that's what they're doing at the end of the day? I hope not, but I don't know. All this Eliza Bleu stuff, well, I think she should be the focus. Well, I think the censorship aspect should be the focus. Well, I think that Eliza Bleu, her past needs to come to light, and we need to know, has this person decided to rip off, who knows, countless amounts of dollars with a fake story about sex trafficking, and the right wing has just been propping her up because it's hard to get women, on their side, especially women that normally operate in the sphere of what the left would consider a big issue. Like, yeah, there's definitely some protection, it looks like, for Eliza Bleu, and the people who are supposed to be the independent journalists, the people we trust, I now am losing trust in because of the way that they're covering the story, or lack thereof, and their actions on Twitter, which, we've all said for years now, Twitter's the public space. People, freedom of speech should work on Twitter the same as should in the public space, and that's entirely correct. So when you've got people locking their accounts and blocking individuals and refusing to comment on stuff, it does lead us to question your loyalty, your allegiances, and can the Quartering get stuff wrong? Absolutely, he does all the time. Can he be a bit harsh or a bit of a douche? Yeah, sometimes, who can't? But he's been the only one that I think has any sort of, between him and Tim, he's been the only one that, in my opinion, has been philosophically consistent throughout this whole ordeal, saying, these are my views, these are my beliefs, I don't hold any ill will, I don't have any bad blood, I'm just going to continue trying to speak this truth, trying to get it out there. He's never told people, don't support Tim. He's acknowledged they've got, crossover with their audience all the time. He's straight up said, hey, stop asking, stop super chatting in, asking about this to the crossover in his audience. He's told them to stop going to Tim's show and super chat in and ask about it. It's just been incredible to see that Jeremy has very much, the Quartering has been very much on the side of, we have a lot of crossover, let's keep this. We'll take some pot shots, we'll talk some trash, but at the end of the day, we're doing so with facts, and if not with facts, we're putting pieces together of a puzzle, and this needs to come to light. Whereas Tim Pool has stayed away from the puzzle entirely for whatever reasonings he may be staying away from, and the Quartering is calling out another content creator for saying this should be a puzzle you should be involved in, considering the nature of your business, the nature of what you do, the nature of your coverage, and the fact that you're not in this puzzle when you've been in a bunch of others. It's sketchy. And I can't argue with that. So I do appreciate the Quartering's philosophical consistency, and I hope he sticks with it. At the end of the day, I think he's absolutely come out with the W on this one. And it's sad that I have to say that. This shouldn't be about an L and a W. It shouldn't be about a win for the Quartering, a loss for Tim Pool. This should be about Eliza Bleu and the fact that she's hoodwinked so much of Twitter and Elon Musk and the right-wing media and the independents and maybe even the left. I don't know if the left wing likes Eliza Bleu or not, but she's hoodwinked all these individuals with her possibly bogus human trafficking story, and now it's caused infighting in a community where people go to get information that the mainstream media doesn't tell us. Now, if we're starting to worry about the independent media being liars and grifters, who do we have to trust? Not the mainstream media, not alternative media. Now we got no one to trust, and we're absolutely on a trajectory for downfall. That's the worst part of this. The message of Eliza Bleu has gotten lost. I didn't want to do a video talking about Tim Pool and the Quartering, but at this point, you have to. I can't not do this video because the Eliza Bleu situation has spiraled off into this spider web of unfortunate events that now make this video necessary, because it is creator on creator drama, sure, which normally isn't my sort of thing, but it links back to an overall issue of censorship, and you guys know me, I'm very anti-censorship. But with that, I'm going to leave you with a few tweets. You guys can take what I've said, analyze these tweets, make of them what you will, and hopefully we will all come to if not a similar conclusion, at least all come together under the umbrella of this is wrong. Hopefully the Timcast article on Eliza Bleu is not a puff piece. Hopefully they get this sort of thing squashed and resolved, and Jeremy can go on his show, or they can unblock each other. Tim Pool can make a statement, an apology. If I were to say, I definitely think an apology is owed, and we can get to the bottom of what is going on with Eliza Bleu. And if she hasn't gotten it back by the time this goes up, get Brittany Venti her freaking account back. Hashtag free Brittany Venti. That's just my opinion. Like I said, I'm going to leave you with those screenshots. Please subscribe to the channel. Check out the back catalog for more nerdy news. Subscribe because it's all here in the nerdosphere. And this has been Words of Paradise.